Hey there, gang. Time for another comic book unboxing video. As always, I've got a box of books here that I have been given to grade for sale on eBay, and I've got no idea what is in this box. So, I need to unpack it, see what I've got to work with, and I'm glad you're here. We will make that discovery together and maybe have a chance to chat about some cool old comic books. So, if you like comics, stick around. We're going to have some fun. Hey there, Bubby. Welcome to Shanghai. My name is Duke. This is an unboxing video and taking a look at this box. Again, I haven't peeked, but I have an idea we're probably going to be dealing with a lot of Bronze Age Marvel and DC. And that is because as you look at the edges here, we've got a lot of bell bags, what we call bell bags. And those are from a retailer known as Robert Bell. And he opened a bookstore in the late 60s in, I think it was New York City, the Bronx, Brooklyn, something like that. And it quickly kind of morphed into one of the early primordial comic book stores, although he dealt, exclusively in back issues. And pretty soon after that, he moved to Florida and he became one of the first exclusive mail order dealers. And you may remember seeing his ads in the books themselves, in the comics. It was the one with that kind of ersatz Thor figure. And so he developed these bags because up until this point, comic bags really weren't a thing like they are today, thought of as some kind of archival protection. Well, these are called, they say on them, comic book protective cover, but the first comic book bags really were just something for a dealer to put a sticker on and for him to ship the books in to make sure that they arrived in the same condition in which they were advertised. And so he had printed up a bunch of these bags. And so these bags are likely, well, let me pull out a stack here. And before I do, please like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the groovy things. You know how it works. Help this channel grow. I'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers for monetization, but right now I'm kind of in the drive for 5. As I film this, I'm at 374. This channel will be about a year old in early July. I'm hoping to hit 500 before then. But anyway, pull out this first stack, and you can see the bags here. And I don't know, this camera transposes stuff or not. But actually, if I pull out this backing board a little bit so that you can see it a little better. There are at least 2 waves of these bags, and the first ones had a sans serif font. The later ones had this serif font, and he was in Hoppage. I feel like Bugs Bunny. Hansel. Hoppage. I have no idea where Hoppage, New York is, or if I'm even saying that right. But anyway, Robert Bell had this mail order dealership, and again, at some point he moved to Florida, I recall. But and he went out of business, sold out, and retired. I think early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. I guess I'd have to look that up to see exactly when. But so these bags are at least 30, maybe 40 years old. And I'm laughing because they say, they claim you should change your bags every, 6 or 7 years or so. So I don't know if these books have been in these bags that long, but these bags are anyway at least that old. And whatever they're made of, I don't think they're like the polypropylene, polyethylene like the current bags. They're really not that yellowed. They're still, the books are pretty presentable in them. So I don't know. But anyway, so even though I said I thought this was going to be a lot of Bronze Age stuff, you can see here this top one at least is a Silver Age book. Classic Avengers meeting the X-Men. Let's go. Well, there's a Bronze Age book right there. The first appearance of Bobby Chase as Mockingbird. And I forget where she first appeared, but she went through a couple of identities, not just costume identities, but like what they were going to do with the character as a civilian identity before she eventually became Mockingbird, found her niche there, and eventually her death. But like everybody, she got better. So I guess we're going to have kind of a mix of silver and bronze in this bag. Looks like we're probably going to be pretty much Marvel and kind of the superhero stuff. And not all of these bags in here are Bell bags, but most of them are the Bell bags. So anyway, I mentioned that because it's a bit of nostalgia for folks if you're old like me and you remember seeing those Robert Bell ads in the comic books. Friendly Frank is another ad I remember. So when before the internet was a thing and they used to advertise back issue comic books in the comic books themselves, what are some of the retailers you remember, or the dealers? Who did you buy books from? If you were around then, if you're that old, Mile High Comics maybe. Was it Friendly Frank's or Robert Bell or somebody else? Whose ads do you remember? And I guess if you're a newer reader and you're flipping through older comic books, I presume that if you buy older comic books, you are actually reading them and not just sending them right straight to CGC without ever opening them. But which of those old ads intrigue you the most? Which one do you wish you'd been around to order from? So here is the famous photo cover of Submariner #7. And there's been a lot of debate online as to what exactly this is a photo of. And some people say it's a funeral procession. Some people say it's just a typical parade of some kind. It's apparently in New York City. A Kennedy death memorial has been kind of ruled out, but it seems to be from maybe around that era or perhaps a little earlier. So do you know? Do you actually know where that photo is from? The comics.org, the Grand Comics database, last time I checked, didn't actually say. Marvel Superheroes featuring Captain Marvel, so that is the second appearance of Marvel. He made his debut at issue 12. Issue 13 is the notable as the first appearance of his proposed love interest, Carol Danvers. So who we know today as Captain Marvel made her debut in this issue. You want to see her? You want to see the first? Let's take a look. A lot of times I zip right through these and we don't really look inside, but let's see here if we can see what our first Carol Danvers appearance. Is that her? Nope. Nope. Well, it's not going to turn out that I lied to you, is it? She's got to be in here. So there she is. So that is our first appearance of Carol Danvers. Looking very Laura Petrie, very Mary Tyler Moore with her little flip-do and her tight sweater and pearls and her capri pants. Not at all the image you would think of Carol Danvers today. But there you go. That was the first appearance of Carol Danvers. All right, let's move on with some haste here so we can get through this. This is kind of a short box, but it's a long short box. It's a long shorty. All right, so here we have some good old Bronze Age Spider-Man number 155. Still only 25 cents, meaning it's soon going to be 30 cents. There's Nova, guest appearance. That's the first appearance of Deathlock the Demolisher in Astonishing Tales number 25, created by Rich Buckler. Origin of the world's most offbeat superhero. Superhero as one word. And I see this lots of ways. Superhero as one word, superhero as two words, and superhero, how I prefer it, superhero as a hyphenated word. Marvel and DC, kind of around this time, they filed a joint trademark on superhero, that word, and that's why a lot of publishers don't refer to their superhero lines as superheroes. They'll come up with different terms, powers, wonders, metas, whatever. And I don't know if, honestly, I don't think that trademark would hold if anybody actually tried to challenge it, because I think that word has gone into the public domain, and you can lose a trademark if a word becomes too identified with a thing in the public consciousness, such as like a hideaway bed or Band-Aids. Everything's a Band-Aid, even though not just the Band-Aid brand Band-Aid. The hideaway beds, everything that folds up into a wall is a hideaway bed, not just the brand name hideaway bed. And I think, just based on the fact that if you showed any random person on the street a drawing of somebody with their underwear on the outside and some kind of weird symbol on their chest and perhaps a cape, in kind of heroic proportions, 8 heads tall instead of the standard 7. And you said, what is that? They would tell you immediately that's a superhero. And so I don't think Marvel and DC's trademark on the word superhero would stand up to any legal challenge if somebody wanted to invest that money in challenging it. So here's the first issue of The Cat. That is, I believe, Greer Garson. She would eventually become Tigra, and Patsy Walker would get the costume. This was, I think, an all female creative team, female writer, female artist, and so yeah, feminism was a thing here in the early 70s. So all these people who are trying to tell you that women are breaking the glass ceiling in comic books, yeah, they're not really doing anything new. So don't worry about your gender, don't worry about your color, just produce good comic books that people want to read. But this, unfortunately, nobody wanted to read. And it only lasted 4 issues. The Defenders #1. Well, that's a big deal, isn't it? There you go. I Slay by the Stars. That's pretty cool. Monster of Frankenstein #1. This is a popular series in the back issue market right now. Pretty hot. And I do love the Mike Ploog art. Mike Ploog was, I believe he was in the Will Eisner studio for a lot of years. And certainly is quite the illustrator. I think he's still around. I think he's still alive. Giant Size Hulk. That's looking very Gil Kane, isn't it? Maybe not. I don't see a signature anywhere. Hulk smash. Oh, Hulk will smash. Ba -ba -ba. All right. Well, let's pull out the next stack here. See what we've got. Some more Giant Size. Giant Size Defenders #3 with Daredevil. Giant Size Supervillain Team Up with Doctor Doom and Submariner. Never really loved this costume of his. Maybe it makes a lot more sense than just his green tidy swim trunks, but I don't know. I don't know if the underarm wings make a lot of sense for somebody who spends a lot of time underwater. Here's another Giant Size Supervillain Team Up, #1. Fantastic Four, #200. It was kind of a big deal at the time. 60 cents was a big deal at the time. Fantastic Four 83. Is there another book on the other side? Oh no, it's just, I was grabbing 2. Defenders #28, Enter Starhawk. So that one holds a little more value in the back issue market, which Starhawk was a thing for a hot minute, but hasn't been for a long time, and he's certainly not part of any current Guardians of the Galaxy lineup. Although, isn't he who Sylvester Stallone was kind of sort of playing? Giant Size Avengers #4, The Marriage of Vision and Scarlet Witch. And I haven't really noticed this one take off in the back issue market with the advent of the WandaVision show in quite the same way that some of the West Coast Avengers books and others things took off. Here is #3, Giant Size. Nice. Green Lantern Green Arrow from the classic O'Neill Adams run. And this is a drug issue, as you can well see. Winner of Academy Award for Best Comic. Well, I don't think that's the same Academy Award we know of today. Here's the first part of that story. This is #85 with the junkie cover. I mean, this is really over when you consider that Stan Lee's 3-part drug story in Amazing Spider-Man 96, 7, and 8 that got rejected by the Comics Code Authority. And by the time this came out, less than half a year later, really, the code had been changed enough to not only allow a reference to drugs, but look, to actually show him shooting up here on the front cover. What the hell? Wow, that's crazy. So there you go. Do you know the name of the band that Speedy belonged to? Speedy was in a rock band. He was the drummer. The name of the band? Great Frog, which is that's a great band name. If I ever learned to play an instrument and started a band, a little late in life for that, but if I did, I'd call it Great Frog. I bought this issue when I was a kid, Angel and Iceman, and I don't know if this is before The Defenders, no, 78. So I think it might be even after the not the Defenders, the Champions series that they were in. And I don't think this has any of the other Champions in it, just Angel and Iceman. Howard the Duck, king size annual #1. Sinbad was never like this. Iron Fist #2. Hurrah! I like that. Iron Man #5. KAMANDI, Last Boy on Earth #1. I like this box, even though it's all Marvel and DC. It's a good random mix so far. So KAMANDI, The Last Boy on Earth, and that's a nice looking copy. Now they always look better in the bags. Even a 40-year-old Bell bag will fool you. There was a recent unboxing that had a lot of Thor in it, and somebody commented in the they commented in the comments, which really is, the right place to do it. They commented in the comments that those Thors looked like they were in really nice shape. Well, as it turned out, there were a couple of 5.5s, a few 5s, but most of them were 4.5s and 4s. So again, the bag will fool you. You never grade something in the bag. Always take it out. If you want to verify that something is the grade it says, don't be afraid to ask the retailer to take it out of the bag, especially if you're spending any significant money. Marvel Team Up, Spider-Man and the Human Torch. That's a cool book. Very, very cool. Let's pull out the next stack. See what we've got. Marvel 2-in-1 Annual with Thanos, The Thing, Spider-Man, and the Avengers. What more could you ask for? And that's a book that does really well in the back issue market. Machine Man #1. First issue of this does well. The rest of it, not so much. But there it is for you. This one does a little better than the concurrent Marvel team-ups before and after, because it has Warlock. Speaking of Warlock, Marvel Premiere #1. So he was in the first 2 issues and then got his own series. Nova #1. And it's another one where the first issue does pretty well, and then the rest of it's like, do I sell it as a single? Do I put it in a multi-book lot? It's kind of a tough call. Red Wolf #1. Now this is not the first appearance of Red Wolf. He first appeared in an issue of the Avengers. And I don't know why. It didn't... Oh, who was it? Marvel recently made a big deal about Native American heroes or something like that, and it's like they didn't have Red Wolf. It's like, what the hell about Red Wolf? But I don't know. Captain Marvel #25. We've seen that in recent unboxings. Here's 26 against the Thing. 27 against the Super Skrull. With a little help from Star Fox and the Collector down here below. That guy only has one eye. I wonder if he's supposed to have just one eye. These aren't all Skrulls then, are they? Here's number 30, the Controller. 31, the Avengers, plus Drax, plus Star Fox, who would later become an Avenger. Oh, very cool, very cool, very cool. So I'm more of a DC than a Marvel guy. I started buying comics, I don't know, mid-70s, 75, 76. The 77, 78 era is kind of my personal golden age, so the 30, 35 cent covers. And this is a classic run of Batman's Detective Comics. Presenting a Batman classic, and brother, they ain't lying. So this is Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers on the art. So that's cool. Clayface is back. This has invented a new Clayface, as I recall. There have been like 3 or 4 or 5. And that's the end of DC. Now we're back to Warlock. See, I told you he'd get his own title. The Power of Warlock. Son of Satan #1. I wonder if you could do a Son of Satan book today. No, actually, they would call it Hellstrom, wouldn't they? He's had his own series as Hellstrom. Da-da-da. Let us keep on trucking through this box. See what we've got here next. Some Silver Age Batman with go-go checks. I was going to say this looked like a Joe Kubert face, and there it says right there, Joe Kubert. You didn't see Joe Kubert do a lot of Batman, but there's one example for you. 347. What is this? 424. 425. Introducing a new series, The Master Crime File of Jason Bard. So Jason Bard was a thing for a while. Never really broke out. He was kind of a backup character. Did some work, like he's a real person. He did some work with Batgirl and never really broke out. And I don't know that Jason Bard has been used for 20, 25 years. Number 426 is a new Elongated Man mystery. This one's missing a chunk down here. That's too bad. 427. 431. It's a Michael William Kaluta cover, it looks like. 432. Got the Atom in the backup spot this issue. 433. There's the Spook. I don't know if this is the first appearance of the Spook or not. Of course, he's another villain we haven't seen in a long, long time. 434. Here's a 100-page giant, super spectacular. I loved these when I was a kid. And really, I mean, these came along right when I started reading comics. So right away, I got a good education in Golden Age characters and also characters from companies other than DC, such as Kid Eternity. So, that's cool. Creeper. And this, I think this might be, I don't know if I want to say this is his first appearance after his, well, I don't want to say failed series. It lasted 6 issues, which as a bi-monthly book was a year. I don't know if that's his first appearance after that or not. But he was in limbo for a while. Oh, classic, classic, classic. So this was among, if not my first Detective Comics as a kid. This is a great run to get, and I think it's been collected in a trade paperback, although I couldn't tell you what the name of it is. But so in Detective Comics, you had these backup stories, and they featured different characters, and each one of them was fighting the Calculator. Well, in each one, they defeated the Calculator. Well, as it turns out, he was losing on purpose to gather information on these heroes. And so in this issue of Detective Comics, and you'd think it would have been in an issue of Justice League, but he took on the whole Justice League, or at least this part of the Justice League, and defeated everybody with what he had learned. The Calculator has since ditched this costume, become more of a kind of a menacing mastermind villain, and has appeared in various incarnations in the Arrowverse. I think the Calculator is Felicity's father in that show. I love this, though. The crane just coming out of this big chute on his head because he punches a few numbers into the Calculator on his chest, a giant Calculator on his chest. How Bronze Age is that? But anyway, this was classic. This was absolutely a classic, and it was a good example of how these days a comic book story will take 6, 8, 12, 15 issues. You invest a year to try and get a full story. Whereas here you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full stories complete in that issue, and as backups no less. So we're talking like 8-page stories, which then connected, come to find out, into this, and this was a done in one as well. But again, they all connected, but each story was a complete reading experience with a beginning, middle, and end all by itself, but there was a continuity that fit together. So, anyway, sorry to go off on that little nostalgia trip for you. 165, and unfortunate rip right there. Goes all the way down to here. Look at that. Oof, that's ugly. This is a ridiculous cover with the Big, Little, and Mini Batman. This is kind of a classic cover. R.I.P. Batman and Robin. Speaking of R.I.P., this time it's Bruce Wayne getting the Tombstone treatment. Batman number 242. let's pull out the next stack, see what we've got here. Boom. Batman number 243. That's another classic cover. Man, they were, until they finally killed him, they were forever teasing the death of Robin. It was like Batman's greatest fear. How many ways can a Robin die? Well, you know, if you added them up, quite a few. Here's a, is this a Kaluta cover too? I don't see a signature. Looks it kind of. There's 249. Batman, don't go down there. Are you crazy? Nice 100-page super spectacular. And you've got Golden Age Spectre, Black Canary, Dr. Midnight, and Black Hawk stories in here. Man, only 50 cents. This book, now God, you know, this would be a $10 book today. At least. I think the 80-page books they're asking $10 for. So, another classic one with some Wildcat in it. Batman number 250. Here's another 100-page super spectacular. This one's got some, it's all Batman stories, including Batman 2 and Robin 2. Batman number 255. 259. Guest starring The Shadow. DC had a Shadow series going at this time. Now we're back over to Marvel, some X-Men. That is, who is that? Blastar? I don't know who that is. Now we're into the reprint era. The Super Adaptoid, and that is from an earlier issue. And let's snag some more books, more X-Men, more from the reprint era. 91. It's a Neil Adams reprint. 103. So now we're into the new X-Men with Juggernaut and I always forget his name. I always want to just call him Black Jack Shellac from the Bugs Bunny cartoon. Fire Lord and Phoenix. 107. I believe that's the first appearance of the Imperial Guard, based on the Legion of Superheroes, using some of Dave Cockrum's unused costume designs for those characters. Here's issue 110. 111. I've told you before, this was my first X-Men issue as a kid, and I was hooked right from the beginning. 112. And I think this might be one of the first issues where we realized that his whole skeleton was made of metal. Not sure. 113. They're fighting Magneto at his underground base. And they all appear to be dead except for the Beast, who was an Avenger this time, but came back for a few issues here in the X-Men. And so they think all the rest are dead, but they're not. They're actually, whoops. Well, we're missing that issue. 115, they're in the Savage Land. They from Magneto's base, they tunneled into the Savage Land. Spoiler warning. 116. Here's some Sunfire action. 118. Arcade. That was a cool book. I remember when I was a kid. Here's the classic Days of Future Past. And again, talking about how things just drag out today with the decompressed style of storytelling and everybody thinking they're writing movie and television scripts and just dragging out these scenes. You know, you'll have a whole page that doesn't accomplish any plot action more than, like, you know, Batman jumping off a roof. That's it. It's hard to imagine that this classic, all-time classic story, Days of Future Past, was just 2 issues, 141 and 142. If they tried to tell that story today, it would cross over in about 7 different titles and take at least a year. So that's what I tell you. Nobody knows how to actually write a comic book these days. They all think they're writing movie and television scripts. Hey, we're back to Avengers. That's where we started. And we're back to some bell bags. Boom. There's the original villainous Power Man. And here we go. This is from Casey's Books in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So look that up. Let me know if Casey's Books is still a thing up there in Green Bay, Wisconsin. When I say up there, I guess from Maine I should say over there, right? We're probably a little north of them. Here's Avengers Annual 7 with Thanos. That's a classic story. I think that's Michael Golden art. Yeah, look at that. I turned all these around only to have to turn them all back again. There's Avengers number 18, early issue with Cap's Kooky Quartet, when the Avengers were just Captain America, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver. Avengers, here we have the Vision. He ate some bubble gum and passed out. 72 with Scorpio. Amazing Spider-Man 144. Oh my God, who could this be in the Go-Go Boot? I'll give you a hint. She died in issue 121. Yep, that's Gwen. That's a clone of Gwen Stacy. Again, spoiler warning. Here's 145 with Scorpion. 150, a little bit of everybody. 151. Seems like, you know, Spider-Man was always in cellars getting flooded out. It's like a trope. It's 4 or 5 or 6 covers where that's going on, including the classic Steve Ditko sequence. 179, I forget which Green Goblin that was. There was a different Green Goblin there for a while, and that's actually him. But then the original comes back. Captain America and Electro. And I think if I can get them all out in one pull, this is going to be our last stack. Oh, I got them all, but for that last one, I'll go ahead and grab that one. And it was, boom, Doctor Strange number 1. From 1970, what is that, 4 or 5, Frank Bruna on the art chores. And I bet you all the rest of this is Spider-Man. Let's take a look and see. Spider-Man 75, number 80 with the chameleon, 81 with the kangaroo. It's so ridiculous. 82 with Electro. 86, this is the one where Black Widow gets her classic Diana Rigg cat suit. Before that, she wore, like, you know, these fishnets and capes. And since we took a look at the first Carol Danvers, I think, did we? Was that this box? I lost track. I can't remember if we did that this box or a previous box. So anyway, there's your previous Black Widow look. Which, hey, you know, you can't deny the fishnets. Which is, you know, it's kind of too bad that in this upcoming Black Widow movie, we're not going to get to see Scarlett Johansson in some fishnets. But let's take a look here. I don't know, the costume gets destroyed or ripped or something. Not sure exactly what goes on. Here she designs her own new costume. Let's see if we can see the first panel with her new costume. There it is. Boom, right here. So that's the first look at Black Widow in her classic leather catsuit costume. Inspired by Diana Rigg, I believe. So there you go. So since we took a look at Carol Danvers' first appearance, I thought we'd take a look at that as well. 92 with Iceman. 94 with the Beetle. 97, so this is the middle part of that classic drug story we talked about. See, there's no Comic Code Authority seal. 103 with Kazar. I believe that's Gwen Stacy. 109 with Doctor Strange, or Dr. Scintilla, as he's known in Mexico. Kraven the Hunter. What do you think of the guy that they just who just got cast as Kraven the Hunter? I confess I didn't know who he was. I guess he's the kid who was in Kick-Ass, which I don't know. I mean, looking at his picture, he's not at all who I picture as Kraven the Hunter. You know, I suppose next to Bruce Patterson's Batman, he might look like, beefy and stacked, but he just looked kind of slight and sewy to me. Hard for me to picture him as Kraven the Hunter. We'll see. Here's Hammerhead. Aunt May. Dr. Octopus. Suddenly the Smasher. 116. The Smasher and the Demolisher. Oh no, the Disruptor, I'm sorry. 118. Doc Ock and Aunt May getting married, number 131. And here is the last book in this box. A little Doctor Strange versus Dormammu. Doctor Strange number 172. So obviously this series, this numbering continued from Strange Tales. The title became Doctor Strange. And then it got canceled around 183 or something like that. And then he was kind of in limbo for a couple of years. Then he came back with a short run in Marvel Premiere from, I think, issue 3 to 14. And then he got his own series once again, which was this one here. And this one lasted, I think, about 80 issues. And he's had several subsequent series since then, but after that point, I tend to lose track. So that's it. That's that box. I hope you had some fun looking through those with me. I enjoyed that. That was a little more different, a little more random. It was all Marvel and DC and all superhero, I'll grant you, but there was some surprises in there. So that was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you. Please do come back, snoochy booches, and until next time, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.